Hi everybody, we're back. It's Tuesday, it's December, Christmas is coming. We should have some Christmas music under this, shouldn't we, Ellie?
A Bing Crosby Christmas jingle.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Is that Bing Crosby?
It is. They've been
What's the
playing
David Bowie
Christmas
one?
songs. There is one?
Peace on Earth. That one where we're in that like cozy set and he comes in. Bing Crosby, it's a bit like Noel's house party. He's got like this wooden cabin all set up, and he's like,
oh god, my clip's playing, sorry.
And there's a knock at the door, and you go, oh, I wonder who that is. And it's like 1977 David Bowie. He goes, hello, it's rather cold outside, can I come in? And he goes over to the piano, and they start chit-chatting, and David Bowie just starts playing the piano, and they start singing Drummer Boy, Little Drummer Boy, peace on earth.
I've never heard that or seen it.
You must have seen the David
Ever?
Bowie Bing. Oh my god, Ellie. You're in for a treat. David's in a sweater. It's amazing.
Oh my god. Anyway, enough about David in a sweater. What is this show all about, Ethan?
We dismantle and break down the Terminator films 2 minutes at a time. If you're a fan of the Terminator films, you probably left us by season 2. Not because we've got a shitty show, but all the films post that point weren't very good, including this one. It's episode 42. We're going from minutes 84 to 86. The 2 minutes bridging that gap. And... oh, hang on. Just going to get my clip set up.
Anyway, hit the music.
Yeah, I think this guy's a couple cans short of a six-pack.
Howdy, stranger.
Don't say howdy, stranger, to me.
Load up.
You didn't do the fourth.
Thank God. It sucked. Yeah, it's so good.
Yes, we are back. Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Ethan McKinley, and yes, on the other end of the line is my charming female co-host, Ellie Fitzgerald. I didn't introduce you, Ellie. How are you?
I'm very well, Ethan. How are you?
I'm very good.
Good. I can tell you what the bookmarks are because I have indeed watched the clip. So it opens with Kyle pleading with John.
Don't fight this!
Exactly. It doesn't have to be this way.
Well, John,
and then it ends with John watching the school bus drive away around the mountainous cliff.
I've written, Jason Clarke looks steelily into the camera. Ooh, a school bus.
Just makes me think of Otto from The Simpsons.
This is kind of like... he's kind of playing the devil in some ways, isn't he?
Because it's temptation.
Yeah.
And appealing to their human nature and empathy and emotion and, I'm your son. And because, he recites things, doesn't he, that John said to him, what was it he says? I would travel across time for you, I would whatever. And he goes, well, join me now.
Yeah, you'd follow me to whatever end. You just, why not now?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, how much of this is the human side of John? Like... is the machine part using the human side to kind of plead, or is this like John really going, join me, I've seen the future, this is the best outcome for all of us included?
I think it's the former, personally. I think it's the Terminator tapping into... I do think there is human elements in John, but the overriding element is it's Skynet.
The underlying programming, the algorithm.
Yeah, I think it has access to all the human parts that it needs, and it will just kind of pick out that bit of information when it needs it. So what it's doing is it's gone into like the memory bank. And
we're jumping ahead, but as they shoot John Connor and he explodes, and as they're kind of running out, Amelia Clarke's running out with a shotgun, they meet Pops in the corridor. The corridor, well, that kind of like thing. It almost looks like a stadium run through that kind of American football players would come onto the kind of the pitch in, if you will. But it's sort of like they shoot like incendiary grenades at like John Connor. Fire just fills the room, goes over all of the guns and stuff that he's spent 20, 30 years compiling, and it's like they bump into him around the corner and go, hey, you've been storing weapons in that weapons cache, you've worked in it for 30 years. He's going, yeah. You go, forget it, I'll tell you later. He'd be so like...
I'm so glad that you brought up a note that
You'd be so pissed off. It's like, I've been working on that thing for years. It's almost like me downloading a million iTunes, something going, oh, by the way, I wiped all your hard drives. Hey, you know that weapons cache you've worked on for 30 years? Forget it, I'll tell you later. You don't have a scene right there. She's going, I'll tell you later.
Anyway, we're gonna go back to.
I
where
thought
we
it was
were.
funny, and I hope the listeners did too.
It is. It just happens later on in this 2 minutes.
So yeah, he's doing this kind of like pleading and being like, "Join me, join us."
The look on Jai's face is one of abject horror. It's amazing, and he just stands there just with this look on his face and just thinks, "Shit."
Hasn't John Connor got tears in his eyes when he's speaking to Jai there, or am I just seeing that wrong? Or they've lit it so he looks a bit glassy and misty?
Misty. I don't know that I've actually noticed tears coming down his face. Let me just have a quick goose.
As he like gets into his speech, where he kind of paraphrases, he does his like slightly altered version of it, of the Carl Reese Terminator speech when
That
they're
was
in
a
the car
question
park.
I actually had. How would he know that speech?
It might be his speech that he said to Kyle at one point, and I think it maybe stuck with Kyle as one of those watershed moments.
So that's why he recited. Well, that's why he said it in T1 then.
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, this is me being an apologist and trying to cover the writers' asses. I mean, it's really been done as a kind of pastiche and a callback, an in-joke, if you will, to the first Terminator, I assume. I mean, that's why it's done. But the only reason I'm saying that, as he's saying that speech, he's kind of got tears in his eyes. It's almost like he's like the human side is almost like a passenger, and he's being controlled by the machine. So maybe that's kind of like the emotional side of John. And because he's saying this machine will not stop, he's kind of like almost in his own head reflecting like, oh my God, I'm trapped in this machine. I've been killed, taken over. And my human soul, if you will, is like, again, like we said before, a ghost in the machine, trapped.
Yeah.
And that's why you're seeing that perhaps emotion on his face. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it as an actor, and maybe I'm impressing too much on that performance. But he looks like he's, you know, crying. Here, when he's like looking at the school bus, he's
Well,
like,
maybe
hey,
it's a
please.
tactic. Maybe they're fake tears. Maybe the Terminator has said, "Oh right, if I turn on the waterworks."
Oh yeah, no, maybe it is. I couldn't agree more. But I just think it's kind of an interesting idea that he's almost like, you get little bits of John that bubble to the surface, where like there's a human side that I think if the writers or a different writers on this thing, maybe you'd have him at war with himself inside.
What tactic do you think he's using then when he comes out with the line, "I always live and you always die"?
Because you can't. Well, he's saying it's the time wants certain things. You can't get out of, you know, any of this. It's
And
inevitable.
I'm sorry, but that's not actually accurate, because up to this point, Kyle has only actually died once.
This is true.
And I'm not even a fucking movie geek, and I always pick up on this shit. You're just like, that makes no sense, because
No, you get a pause, and I go, yes.
You always die and I always live, and it's like, well, actually, you haven't actually been tested, and Kyle's actually only died once. Soz.
Well, no, because the machine, I think, is hopefully, or they're certainly aware that they're in an altered timeline now.
You're not paid, I think.
Well, there's two theories, isn't there, for time? So if I went back and killed your father before he had you, it doesn't necessarily mean, I think Stephen Hawking said this, that you would disappear from existence because you've already happened. You've only gone back in time and killed your father because you've already existed.
So would that then, my father being killed, would that then split time and then create the alternate timeline then?
That's what they think, and that's what they're basing this off. So instead,
That's the first time I've ever actually understood that.
Well, no, it's the Back to the Future idea, isn't it? So, like, all the stuff in Back to the Future, if his parents don't get together in that film, if he doesn't make them fall in love because his mother's actually got the hots for him, you never get away with that in a film nowadays. Because they're kind of like, they start growing distant, he starts to fade away literally from existence. And then when he looks at the Polaroid of his family, his brother and sister are kind of like missing or disappearing from the photo as well, and his hand starts to disappear. In this idea of altered time, time still runs on a loop where you have certain like emblematic things happening regardless, almost like buildings on a horizon. They're still going to be there. If you move the building, or you know, alter your path, it's still, you know, you still
Get your words out, Ethan, for God's sake.
It's still going to be there. So this is an altered timeline. So if I went back and killed your father, theoretically, you would still exist in this time because you already existed, and you can't kind of change that. The die is cast, as that old saying goes. The ink is dry on that issue. So I don't know. It's an interesting theory. I'm not sure which one is which. Whether you'd create kind of this kind of shattered effect. So however many times you went back in time and did the same thing, you'd create and alter different things. The other one, of course, is the butterfly effect. You went back in time and changed things. You'd alter things irreparably, and like you'd come back and it would rain donuts instead of rain, like that Simpsons episode.
That's a great episode. I love that one.
Oh, I've come back to a time when dinosaurs weren't confined to zoos.
Can we just discuss how the rule this line and how lame it is?
Yes.
You don't know what I'm talking about, do you?
I do. She says roll this and she pulls a grenade. However, now you've said that, we have.
It's so lame. Cock up. Bing.
We've only got one. We've had this actually come up in a previous episode. It's actually come up in this season in a previous episode, and I think we covered it as well in Terminator 3. Both in Terminator 2 and Terminator Genisys, several instances in which our heroes fire grenade launchers at nearby targets on which the grenades impact and explode. However, and I think Spaldner covered this when he wrote in, because he's our resident weaponsmith, if you will, high explosive grenades arm 15 to 30 meters, about 45 to 90 feet, from the launcher after being fired. So when you fire it, it's not armed. So if you fired a grenade launcher at a wall from 5 feet away, according to this, it wouldn't go off. It only arms after 45 to 90 feet. So you need to be kind of that distance away from something to have a successful...
For it to actually have effect.
Yeah, they're like 10 feet away and they shoot him. One, it's a ridiculous idea because they're only 5 feet away from him, but movie physics, whatever, will let that slide. But because of that distance, it would just bounce off his chest. like some like some love eggs.
Exactly.
So if you fired one off in the small room, this is a grenade, by the way, not anything else. If you fired one off in a small room,
to be fair, she should have shot that in the first place instead of shooting his hand with that puny little thing that she knew would actually do nothing to him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's nothing you really can do with him. It's just, I think maybe she'd have been better off firing it at the wall behind him. Then it probably would have actually gone off at the wall, and then the subsequent cleansing fire that came forward. But again, he'd just run at you and kill you both, I assume, because he moves very fast in that kind of car lot when they're at the subterranean car park they're in.
Yeah.
When he goes, "I am more," and he did that wacky move. We couldn't figure out how he moved Jai Courtney out of the way without killing him, and went for Sarah Connor instead, and Pop stopped him.
That she moved at the speed of light.
Yeah. So the impact on his chest held him back. I just think it's hilarious that he'd worked so hard on this, like his weapons, and they ruined it in like 5 minutes.
I know, that was literally my next note. It's a bit silly blowing up that room where all the explosives are. What a waste. Can we also just briefly touch on the fact that, so this was meant to be like a secret hideout. As they're leaving the building and exiting, there's all these bikers there.
Yeah.
And there's like a couple of buses with school kids on.
Yeah.
I thought this was meant to be a secret hideout.
Well, as I said before, I think it's some kind of water treatment facility or something like that, because the two ways into it...
Yeah, but it's filled with guns and explosives.
Oh, no, I know. I mean, I'm assuming... In fact, I'm going to look up where this actually is. It's obviously a real place. And these bikers are here, and there's a school bus coming down from another car, so it must be some kind of point of interest or tourist place. It's a bit like there's a path you can go all the way to the top of the Hollywood sign at LA, and you can stand on the top. And you can see literally all around Los Angeles. If you go to one side of it, you see all this where the studios are, like Warner Brothers and stuff, and all where they make all the movies. And if you walk to the other side, where the Hollywood sign looks out onto, you can see like all of LA, downtown LA, West Hollywood, Santa Monica, all that stuff.
Sorry.
That's all right. No, it's... But basically, I think it's kind of San Fran's version of that, basically.
Basically. And so that's where bikers and small children hang out. Interesting.
Yes.
One thing I did notice as well is there is a little close-up of about 3 of the bikes, and I did notice they're all Harleys. So, you know, I'll give them kudos to that. At least they actually put some...
Well, no, I mean, I assume that would be Arnold's call, because he rode a Harley in Terminator 2. He's super into Harleys. He owns Harleys, so like it's a no-brainer.
Because Arnie's the man. None of this Trump bollocks.
Arnie's Republican like Trump.
Funny.
I've got some fact attacks for you, Ellie.
Fact attack.
Backed by popular demand, and I thought it was annoying. How dare I? This entry, Ellie, in the franchise continues the tradition of having a chase sequence involving large vehicles. A truck chase at the end of the first film. Then in the second film, there's a truck chase with the T-1000 Petunia pursues John Connor down that like LA storm drain in the second film. So that's 2 trucks. The sequence involving a mobile crane, that's CGI. Well, I mean, they kind of used loads of CGI in the third one, but like it's that giant mobile crane that they kind of wrap up with the hook, and it goes down the manhole cover.
Oh yeah. So
the TX is driving, chasing Arnie as the reprogrammed 850. Sorry, I keep going. Sorry, it's I think it's a glottal onset, something from drama school. Now, in this entry, Terminator Genisys, this contribution is the chase scene involving the Golden Gate Bridge, which sees Sarah and Kyle and Pops fleeing in a classic yellow school bus being pursued by the T-3000. Not a great fact, but a fact nonetheless.
Oh, was that the end of the fact?
Yeah, it's just the tradition of large vehicle chases used in all the films. I mean, really, I wouldn't have counted the first one, because it's like a foot chase of 10 seconds.
Do you know what though? Sticking with like tropes from other films in this saga, another one that we see is where you get the endoskeleton walking out of the fire. So it's the iconic shot. I was going to ask what you think
of the design and what you're about to say.
The skull is completely different.
What do you mean?
It looks the head of the Terminator. They've all had the same kind of form, whereas this one, John's like
he's got a missing nose.
It looks more like oh god, what's his name in
He looks like an evil
in Captain America. Paul Bettany. Who does he play?
Oh, the Vision.
The Vision. His form, his kind of outline. He looks like the Vision. Do you not think?
When the alien crash lands in Independence Day, Will Smith hits him. He doesn't knock out the alien, he knocks out his outfit.
I really thought that though. As soon as I saw it, I was just like, that looks more like something out of a superhero villain film. I don't know. But yeah, no, I found the design very weird. It didn't look like a Terminator to me at all. Even though there's the T-1000 and it's not a solid structure, that at least looked like a metal implement, whereas this, again, because as soon as it's not burning anymore, it's dull and it's blackened.
Yeah.
So again, you don't really get that robot kind of feel with it. I don't know. I can't really connect with this.
Well,
term.
I mean, that's because it's burning, it's blackened. It's actually like that like buffed pewter.
Yeah, but the same thing
look.
happens at the end of Terminator 1, or just Terminator, should I say, when they think it's all over and they collapse in that embrace in front of the burnt out truck. There we go. And then the Terminator comes out.
Yeah.
Okay, you meant to do that.
Oh no, I've sent you a picture of the T-3000. I'll actually post it on the 2-minute Terminator page of a close-up of his face. He's got like human lips and he's got like a missing nose. It's like the top half of a skull with like the alien's kind of mouth.
If I click on it, it's not going to interfere with the recording, is it?
No.
Okay, good.
My kung fu and signal are strong.
Oh yeah. Do you see what I mean though? It doesn't look like a Terminator.
No, it doesn't.
I don't like it.
It does lack a certain menace, but then again, is it meant to? Because it is more human than human, as John Connor would say, right?
I guess. I guess it's kind of. I mean, it's got more kind of like the sinewy bits in the cheeks. I don't.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like the top half of a skull with the bottom half of the classic HR Giga alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one I've sent you now will be the picture of like front on of his face just floating there for you to see. It's literally the lips. It's like the sensual lips.
Actually, there it looks more like a. It looks more like one of the helmets that the elves wear in Lord of the Rings. Did you know the first Lord of the Rings film came out 15 years ago today? 15 years ago.
I do know that.
That's mental. That is absolutely mental.
I know, right?
I went to the cinema to see that. Like, shit, man. Like, really puts stuff into perspective. Anyway, sauce.
No, it does. I thought the other day, actually, that, because I went to see it with TV's Helen George, and it was literally 15 years ago this Christmas. Shocking. I thought it was actually 16
It
years
is
ago, but we're still
shocking.
in 2016. But yeah, approaching 20 years since I went to drama school. Oh my Christ.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
And then the last.
By the way,
note that I
anyone,
have-
if anyone's confused why we keep going, you still said a mind of a sex. I've been watching To Catch a Predator, and the reporter on that, Chris, whatever his name is, he's got this really weird, affected kind of radio voice. I'm actually doing Anthony Cumia of Opie and Anthony's impression of that. He solicited a mind of a sex. He does that. It's almost like he's running out of power, and he's a robot. So I keep it tickles me.
It tickles, and it also keeps it apt with this particular film. I like that. I like that attention to detail, and that's what we are all about. Talking about detail, the last bit of detail I've made on this particular 2 minutes, the fact that when John then walks out of the flames, he's all fine again. His skin comes back. He's rejuvenated. Shock, horror. He then looks out and looks at the bus and kind of pans across, and obviously he knows that they're in there. But how on earth would John actually know that they were in there? Because there's a few vehicles moving along at that time.
Yes, I'm sure he's got amazing kind of vision, and I'm sure he, I guess, makes the assumption that there was a bus here when I arrived. Now the bus is missing. Let me look.
There were 2 buses.
Well, that's what I mean. He probably scans every vehicle, like when Arnie's approaching that kind of biker bar in Terminator 1. He does the little outline, and the scan of each height tells you what brand and model it is and how much is in the tank and da-da-da-da-da. So he must have that when he arrives here, because 2 school buses, so many bikes, that kind of bike, this kind of bike.
I wonder what scope. I wonder what scope he would have then. I wonder, what.
I'm sure he'd have a very big scope.
Isn't that what they used to call the Spastic Society?
Yes. Yeah, I love that sign. Always covered in potato.
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 And they're all the notes I have. Do you have any more fact attacks? Do I get to shoot my gun again?
You don't. You're going to have to save it for the next one, I'm afraid.
That's my gun just shutting down.
The little sound that's on the start of the credits of this show. Just... no, but I will say this. We discussed in an episode recently past, we were saying that if you're going to redo Terminator, you need to boil it down to its bare bones again and make it that kind of survival horror film, which what the original one was, and make the Terminator scary again, is make him into this unstoppable horror character. And
maybe only have one Terminator.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's how it's depicted,
isn't
it?
I like the battle between human and Terminator. When it's Terminator and Terminator, it's generally, I don't know, it's more of a fair fight. Whereas if it's I think that, again, where the fear comes in. If you're watching 2 robots fighting each other,
yeah,
there's not really that much of a risk.
The reason I say that is because I saw a film this weekend just passed, or this week, which has returned I guess, a character that's been given short shrift, I think, in recent films, when they've kind of lost sight of what he originally was meant to be. That film, of course, is Rogue One, which is the best film I've seen this year. And the character, of course, is Darth Vader. So they went for this
Hmm.
silly Eggman that you remember, Ellie, when they took his helmet off and he just looked like Humpty Dumpty. And they've actually returned him, or not. In fact, maybe the last 5 minutes of the film depicts Darth Vader as he all should have been, I think, even more so even than he was in the original Star Wars films, which are amazing. He's a horror character. He's like Jason Voorhees. He's like this terrifying, evil, utterly evil.
Look at him, just evil.
Yeah, this doll switched to evil. So yeah, it's a very good return to form. So whoever kind of made that decision, well done. You've made Darth Vader scary again.
You.
I do. You've taken.
Yeah, you were a very happy bunny when you came out the cinema.
Well, he's meant to be the most famous movie villain of all time in all these polls, but he never seems to do anything villainous. Really, he just ponders and talks a lot of guff and chuffer, and never gets on with it. But in this film, he was very much in the mould of Jason Voorhees. It was like a Friday the 13th slasher film. So if you've not seen the film yet, they aren't any spoilers. I've not ruined the film for you. It's awesome.
Go and watch it.
And yes, the gay subtext of what is it? Chimway. Oh God, Chimway.
Oh God, it gets worse.
Yeah, whatever his name is. Chudi Wati Boodaboo.
Majumba?
No, that might be one of the African listeners.
Get in the
just picked up this
garden!
week. So yeah, we'll shall return. Of course, we're not going to be here on Wednesday, but we will be here on Thursday and Friday and over Christmas. So thank you all for listening. If you want to actually watch the clip, as I said before, you can actually follow along at 2 Minute Terminator on YouTube, where we talk over the clip Mystery Science Theater 3K style. You can find us on 2 Minute Terminator on Facebook, which is our I guess our central hub where you can kind of ask us questions and do and you can obviously follow us on Twitter as well at 2 Minute Terminator. So go to those 3 locations, subscribe, follow, and like, and we shall return. If you want to do us a little solid freebie, please go and open the show on iTunes and leave us a star or a written or both review there, and we'll love you forever, and we'll just keep them coming.
We'll just keep them coming. Yes, thank you so much for tuning in. And how many days is it now until Christmas?
It's beginning to look a lot. Well, today is Monday the 19th of December 2016. If you are listening to this in the future, who started the war and how many of us are left in the nuclear fire, I have no idea.
Well, actually, it's Tuesday the 20th because we are recording ahead of time.
Well, there could be a war now because a psychotic Turkish man has shot the Russian... Is it ambassador in the back?
Yeah. And there's also been an attack in Germany, in Berlin.
So there we go.
A truck has just driven into a Christmas fair and killed, I think, 7 people, and there's about 50 reported injuries.
That might be just somebody who doesn't like Christmas, though.
Or it could be a Terminator.
Indeed. And on that bombshell, we'll return on Thursday. Thank you all for listening, everyone. That's only on Mars without his helmet.
2 weeks.
Yes, we digress. Thank you all for listening. Please tune in on Thursday. We'll have another show for you then. And yes, Ellie, I leave it to you.
Get out of it.
Hasta la vista, baby. Or you forgot to do it. You're meant to button the show. You
balls.
You blew it.
Hasta la vista.
Baby.
We made it.
Did we though?
Yeah.
We're still recording.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
All right, over and out. Play ball.
Shut up.
Bye.
Watch out for machines. I'll be back.